Reddit's new Orwellian hate speech rules. Now, there's a debate whether you should allow hate speech due to free speech values. However, this isn't about that. That's not what this one is about. It's that this new Reddit policy only protects some people from hate speech. Really interesting. Let me pull that up and I'll share that story with you. So Reddit deleted groups left and right with new Orwellian hate speech rules. Reddit, in case you don't know, is one of the most visited websites in the world. And they deleted thousands of online communities for violating their new hate speech policy. Reddit CEO Steve Huffman announced yesterday that they banned about 2,000 subreddits. Subreddits are these online communities. It's like a Facebook group, kind of. So they announced they banned about 2,000 subreddits, but there's no official list. They won't even tell you who they banned. Perhaps the largest community removed was the Donald, a group of 790,000 users posting memes, videos, and messages in support of President Trump. Another large group deleted was Chapo Trap House, dedicated to one of the largest and highest grossing leftist podcasts on the internet. Reddit cited no specific instances of what was said to warrant the deletion of every single word ever typed in each of the group's long histories. Instead, Huffman, Reddit CEO, explained the reasons for the bans in general terms, citing Reddit's new 8 rules. The rules include prohibiting targeted harassment, doxing, pedophilia. However, the site had already banned such behavior. What's really different is the new rules take a harder line on speech that, quote, promotes hate based on identity or vulnerability. Rule number 1 states that, quote, everyone has a right to use Reddit free of harassment, bullying, and threats of violence. Who would disagree with that? Well, some people would disagree with that, actually. Like free speech absolutists, and I think it's a fair debate, truly, because I mean, it's just typing on a computer, right? Like you can, if you want to say hateful things, like it doesn't actually hurt anybody, right? I mean, so I think that's a fair debate, but the other side of like, maybe we don't, we want to try and make a less hostile environment. You can understand that argument too. I understand that argument too. But let me say this again, and then I'm going to give you a little more context of what's controversial about this. So that's not the controversial part of this story. Again, rule number 1 states that everyone has a right to use Reddit free of harassment, bullying, and threats of violence. But then 2 paragraphs down, it states that, quote, the rule does not protect groups of people who are in the majority. This contradictory rule sounds like it comes straight out of George Orwell's famous dystopian novel, Animal Farm, in which animals found a farm on the principle that all animals are equal until an authoritarian pig takes charge and changes the rule to, quote, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. While protecting vulnerable groups is admirable, it seems utterly unnecessary to exclude majority groups from the same protection. For example, Facebook and Twitter policies have banned hate speech against any race, religion, sex, or sexual orientation, period. And considering Reddit is a worldwide website, what exactly does majority refer to? Presumably, It refers to the cisgendered, straight, and white majority population here in the United States. But how will Reddit treat white populations or other populations globally? After all, there are countries around the world where white people are minorities. And just to show you how kind of weird and problematic this is and odd this is in the United States, it's majority women. So to have language that says everyone's protected from hate speech except majorities, which includes women, that means you're not going to protect women from hate speech. I mean, it just now obviously it's only a slight majority, but it just gives you an example of how this is problematic. And here's some other examples. Will Reddit update or reverse its policy when America becomes majority non-white in the next decade? Will blacks and whites be protected from hate speech differently if they happen to live in black majority countries like South Africa or Zimbabwe instead of the US? Will Reddit's protection of one's demographic population change depending on one's geographic locations? Currently, all this is unclear. What is clear is this was not the vision Reddit co-founder and self-described something of a free speech absolutist Aaron Swartz had for the website or the internet. Before tragically passing away in 2013, Swartz wrote the following in his 2006 blog post titled Free Speech Because We Can. Aaron Swartz is a genius, by the way, and I recommend the internet's Own Boy documentary, which is about his life. Tragically short life. He wrote, quote, "Human freedom is important, so we should try to protect it from encroachment wherever possible. With some freedoms, freedom of motion, freedom of exchange, freedom of action, permitting them in full would cause some problems. People shouldn't be free to walk into other people's bedrooms, take all their stuff, and then punch the poor victim in the face. But hurling a bunch of epithets at a guy really isn't so bad. Freedom of speech is one place where we can draw the line and say, all of this is acceptable. There's no further logic to it than that." End quote. Swartz conceded freedom of speech could be taken away if people, quote, seriously started getting hurt because of freedom of speech. That's reasonable, right? But he couldn't imagine that would actually ever happen. Back to his blog post. Quote, "If people really seriously started getting hurt because of freedom of speech, it seems right for people to take the privilege away. But to be honest, I can't even imagine how that might be possible. Words just don't genuinely wound. They're always medicated by our listening. I do worry that people might try to stretch this justification, say that continued free speech might destroy the war effort or the government or civil society, but I have no problem destroying all of those. It's only the destruction of actual people that I worry about. So here's to free speech." Aaron Swartz.
Fuck you, Matt. You're making my cock fall off.
Man, great job, Matt.
He goes by the name Orf.
Wonderful job.
Let's call him Matto, because I don't want to butcher his name.
Matt Orfalea.
Matt Orfalea.
Matt Orfalea.
Subscribe to him.
Matt Orfalea.
Matt Orfalea.
Matt Orfalea. Matt Orfalea.
Incredible.